Welcome to Confidence with Katheleen, hosted by me, Katheleen Diggle.
Welcome to Confidence with Katheleen. Today, my special guest is Amanda Welsh. Amanda, hey, welcome, and thank you to accept to do that podcast with me. And I know you have a lot to say, but I will have a lot of questions too. Okay. So can you, to start, can you present yourself a little bit and talk about you?
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure.
It's always a joy to visit with you. And like Kathleen said, my name's Amanda Welsh, and I am a barrel racer and a mom, and I have a fiance. And I made the national finals in 2021, and I've been living in Texas for just a little over a year, down in Stephenville, and grew up in Wyoming, so the climate change has been different. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just a little bit about me.
Mm-hmm. And I'm happy that you are down here. We can see each other a little bit more often, so I'm feeling it's pretty good. How's your kids like it down here?
They like it. It is a long ways from their other family, so every once in a while they kind of struggle with that, but they love their school, they have a lot of friends, and they do enjoy more nice weather than cold days like up north.
I know. When we come down here, we all about the same, like, okay, yes. It's fun, snow, but 1 or 2 weeks after that, I'm feeling I'm good too.
Yes.
Okay. So, what about your horse and things like that? Because yes, we talk about your kids, but I know a big part of your work, it's really with the horses.
Yes, I do take a few outside horses in. I try not to extend myself too much just because I know with the kids in school it's easier for me to ride in the day. Right now I have 7 head that I'm riding, and but I think my main horse, Firefly, mm-hmm. He's my world. He's very special to us.
Can you talk a little bit more about him?
Yes. I could talk all day about him.
Yeah, I know, but go ahead.
My dad and mom, they have their own breeding program up in Gillette, and he is a product of their breeding program. So he's 14 this year, so I've had him in my life for 14 years. I've been running him for the last 9 years. My dad trained him, and then I took him over as a 5-year-old to kind of season. And he's just, the heart of that horse is just mm-hmm. impeccable. There's times where I thought he'd be done, and he just keeps showing me that he's not. And he's my best friend. Every time I come out in the mornings, he looking at the door with his ears perked forward for me. So he's just my best friend, and he's carried me through the toughest years of my life, and I wouldn't want to do it with any other horse.
Mm-hmm. I know he's very kind and things. He is special. He has a. He is special, yeah. But yeah. That's pretty fun. So, like when you were doing like the rodeo mm-hmm. for the NFR or whatever, do you just have him, or you have another one too, or most of the time?
I do have a 5-year-old that we got from my mom and dad as well. She's just behind, and but when I made the finals, he was my only horse, and he's been my only horse pretty much the whole time I've been running him. And so it just kind of shows how tough he is. Mm-hmm. The year we made the finals, I entered 60 rodeos, which that doesn't count the rodeos that have a doubleheader or 2 rounds and a short. He made all but 2 of those runs. I used my dad's stud horse at Rapid because we made the short round at Kennewick, Washington, and I needed one more circuit rodeo to be able to go to our circuit finals. So I flew home, ran my dad's horse there, and then flew back. So I ran it was a Saturday, and we were in Slack Saturday morning, and then the short round at Kennewick was Saturday night. That's the only time I've ever flown to and from a rodeo. I'll probably never do it again. Because then on my way back out there, my plane kept getting delayed, and they don't wait on you, and so I knew, I think it got delayed 2 or 3 times, and I thought, oh man, I'm not gonna make it. But my brother Wyatt he flew out to Kennewick to stay with Firefly and the little pony that I had for Firefly that year, and I was texting him. I said, my plane keeps delaying. Can you have him saddled and ready to go? And he's like, yeah. And he said, please just don't make me warm that sucker up. And he was like, I don't want to do it. And my friend Kim Smith, she lives out there in Washington, and she picked me up and got me to the rodeo. And they were on saddle broncs when I got there. So there was one event between saddle bronc and the barrels, and if they weren't there, I don't know how I would have pulled it off. It was so stressful. I don't know how people do that.
Yeah, it's a lot, huh?
It is.
It is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you, because when you were on the road like that, were you traveling most of the time alone, or you have someone with you, or?
I traveled that year. I travel a lot by myself, but that year I was by myself. And I had a dog, Sawyer, but then at Nampa, the Tyson and Shay Durfee ended up with him. Their daughters just loved him, so his life on the road wasn't very fun for him at that moment. And so I thought, if he can go live on a ranch and love those kids, it'd be better than where he was at them. But I drove, oh my goodness, over 60,000 miles that year, and all by myself. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And with the stress, with the horse and everything too. And so how do you keep him in good shape and train him when you are on the road, like that?
Yeah. So the trailer ride for them is always the hardest part on them. So I try to limit how many miles a day he gets drove, especially in the summertime when it's hot. Get him out every 4 to 5 hours. Make sure he's drinking good electrolytes. Because on the way down to the NFR that year, it was colder, but there was such a, when we left it was cold, and then as we gradually got closer to Nevada, it got warmer, and he got a little dehydrated on the trip down. And so thankfully my vet that took care of him all year was there, and she gave him fluids when she got there. And so that's really important, to make sure that you're stopping, giving him water every so often. And then how I keep him fit on the road is I would just try to find somewhere that I could stay and kind of turn him out and not necessarily be in a stall. Stalls are not his thing. So if I even just setting up my electric fence at the trailer and exercise a lot, I always do a day off after his run. Depending on how many runs in a row he makes, he might get 2 days off. I think rest is very important for them as well. But just to do a lot of exercising, keeping his body loose and muscles soft and supple and that kind of stuff. And that's how I did it that year. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Okay, but when you train him, because I had I post something and people wants to know what is, you said you term him out, but if you just long trot him or whatever, do you do that? And
for him, he's never been one that needed a lot of tuning on the barrels. So, and every horse is different. So you just have to look at what your horse needs and what they don't need. For him, he's so honest. He just loves his job. And so he's just never been one that I've had to tune on the barrels a lot. There's one thing that I wish I could change about his style is he doesn't necessarily do it on his first or his third barrel, but his second barrel, he'll drop real low and kind of turn more on his front end than instead of keeping his hind end up underneath him. And so ever since he had that stifle injury, I've always tried to like keep that shoulder up and keep him more squared so he does keep his butt underneath him more, and just have him use like his whole body versus just his front end. And I have Alex work on him, and like he does get really sore in his front shoulders, and I think that's part of the reason why, because on that second barrel he uses more of his front end than he does his hind end. And so, but Firefly's like exercise training program is different than any of the others that I'm riding at the moment. I just do a lot of long trotting and loping with him.
Yeah. And even when you were like on the road like that for the NFR, that's more what you were doing
Yes,
all
ma'am.
that time.
Yep. I didn't hardly ever have to correct him that year. So I didn't work a lot of barrels on him. Maybe twice, unless like I got him into, and I think it was more for me to set up that first barrel and my angle for him. He's a big horse, but he doesn't take a lot of pocket, but sometimes I do get him in too tight. And so it was more or less, like, especially if an arena is, for say, like Denver, yes, it's square to the gate, but that gate is so wonky. And so if you do line up with your third barrel at Denver, like, you're almost running too straight up the pin and then have to come around your first. And so times like that, I would just, more for myself, to make sure I was setting him up right, get in the arena before. But he doesn't need it. It's just more
it's more for you and for your timing and everything. But in the same time, yes, for you, but you help him too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, when you have those big goals, you want to give that horse every opportunity to do his best. So it does work out sometimes to get him in beforehand. That helped.
But and like, so you were saying like you stop every 4 hours to give him, you know, water and everything. But how long do you make a day, like usually on the road? Do you stay like can you do like, okay, you drove till the next stop, or you try to stop before?
I usually try to time it when I need fuel.
Okay.
And so like, and that way I'm not stopping 3 different times, especially in the summer. Your time is usually on crunch mode, and so you only have a certain amount of time to get somewhere. And so I usually try to time it to where I can stop for fuel, get him out for a few minutes, give him some water, and then get him back in and on the road. But like I said, I try not to travel more than 7 or 8 hours a day.
And even for him, but for you too, when you're alone driving and in the traffic and everything, sometimes
it gets long. And you know, driving shouldn't wear a person out, but it's tiring not doing anything all day. And so I always try to, there towards the end of the season, like in 21, mid-September, I was tired. I was ready to go home. But we needed to, you know, the whole year had, and most, you know, that year was kind of like a fairy tale. Like nothing really ever went wrong. Not saying that like we didn't have our little bumps in the road, because everybody does, but for the most part, that year was just smooth sailing. And like God just gave me a peace. I knew from the beginning of the year, like I just had this God-given peace. Like nothing, that whole year I never worried about anything, and it was just incredible.
Good. And you made it too, so that's fun. That's a goal when you have your goal. But so we talk about training, about your horse, but yourself, you know, when you do all those, you know, hour on the road, do you train yourself too? And how do you, you know, manage? Because you said you're tired, but I don't know, but how were you like mentally trying when you're, you know, sometimes we feel like we don't feel like doing it, and we are tired, and I don't know if it happens for you, but for me, sometimes when I had to drive like or going somewhere to put out of my comfort zone or whatever, I can cry and like, why I'm doing it. But we know our goal, but sometimes it's hard. So, but how do you manage those moments, and what do you do something special or?
So I think there's a lot of times where it's not just me, like there's a whole team of us, and I felt like if you don't try your best, like I don't like letting people down. And I mean it happens, but I don't like it. And I think one of the biggest pushes for me was my mom and dad have worked so hard and like handpicked all the broodmares that they have, and I wanted to do it for them as well, to see like my parents have really nice horses, but they're, and it's obviously it's going to the NFR is a lot of young girls' dreams, and I had always dreamed of being there. And you make a lot of sacrifices, and I know like horses like Firefly don't come along every day, and I made a promise to him. I know it sounds silly to make a promise to your horse, it doesn't. I made a promise that I would not waste Firefly, and I knew that that he was a horse that could take me there. And you know, my kids love rodeo, and so to take them along with me helped the times where I was like, is this worth it? Granted, like their dad and I divorced in 2020, and so I didn't have a lot of, I guess I don't really know how to put this into like a nice term, but I didn't have a home where I wanted to go back to in 21. Like, I had nothing keeping me there really, except for like when I did have my kids. And so, it helped being out on the road more because, like there was just a part missing. And so that kind of kept me going. And then like were times where you're like, gosh, like, is this truly worth it? Like, you know, rodeo is expensive. It's mentally draining. And that's where like I relied on making sure I was reading my Bible enough. My faith is big, and to get you through the hard times. And for a long time I was like, why do these struggles keep happening? And then I finally realized, like, when you struggle and you rely on God's word, then the whole world gets to see his works. And that's like, I mean, that's why we're here on earth, is to show our faith and to show the world God's good deeds. And so I think that was the main part, is just relying on the word and like to keep my mental game strong because it is tough. It's very tough.
And for me too, it's always like when I have those moments, you know, I'm feeling to say, okay, I know you want me there.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
can
you help me a little bit, you know? And when things happen, sometimes it's our emotion and things like that, and sometimes it's hard.
It is, and we're human, and I think human, like God's grace is amazing because he knows we're gonna go through those times and like make decisions based off emotion when you shouldn't, but we're human. And when there was times where I called my mom in tears, you know, that year and even last year, because it's hard, and you just, when I get to a certain point, I do break down and I cry, like, and so that's like one thing. And I mean, crying is crying. It's that, you know, I felt better afterwards. After that,
and crying or laughing, those are just emotions that needs to get out.
Yes,
so and sometimes it's okay.
And so, but it takes a big team, and I have one of the best out there.
That's cool. That's really fun. I know your faith and everything, you know, help you very mentally, so you go like that. But did you train yourself too physically? Because it's hard physically, or just because you rode horses and you keep yourself in good shape too that way?
I know that my riding could be better if I did physically train, but I don't.
You don't?
I'm one of those people that like, I'm good for a week, and then I'll give myself a day off, and then I keep telling myself, I'll do it tomorrow, and then 3 weeks have gone by, and I was like, oh. So like, I've never been one to stay hooked on like your physical workout. I've tried to like eat healthy as best as I can. But I think like when you're riding several horses a day, like you're using the muscles that you need every day.
Yeah.
And so like that helps too. But I know like my riding could be a lot better if I did spend some time working
No,
out.
I was just asking because there
No,
are some that they are very like
they are.
They are really
Yes.
taking. So I just
Yeah.
want to
And
know,
I
but that's
really,
fine.
like-
There's nothing good. There's nothing bad. That's how we say
No.
that. You need to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
And if it works for you like that, that's perfect.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I always am like, man, I wish I had their drive to do that. That is one thing that I wish I could stay more hooked on. But it's not, I don't know.
That's fine. You don't
With
need
being
it.
a mom and riding horses,
Yeah.
like when my kids go to bed, I'm ready for bed too.
So that's good. So you talk a lot about that you have a team, you have your team, and so you said that your parent but can you talk a little bit more about your team and how you work, like for you, but for your horse too, about all the team together?
I think it's very crucial to have a very good vet that listens. And one thing that I've learned the hard way this last year is a good farrier. I think those are two at one of the top that you need, because I ran into a couple things. Well, you helped me find the issue this last summer, and I've learned a lot on a horse's feet and correct angles and all that kind of stuff. And so I now use JB Cox for my farrier, and Molly, Dr. Molly, she's been helping me a lot with Firefly the last couple months. And I've used Don Lee a lot. He was my main vet since I moved down here. And then, chiropractor for your horse. There's a lot of treatments that you can do to help keep them feeling their best. I love the AccuScope machine. And I think Firefly loves it too. Like out of all the therapies that I've used on him, that's his favorite. And then on the other side of the team, you need a lot of people that 100% support you. I do have some sponsors that their products I wholeheartedly believe in. I will not use a product just for the sake of advertising for somebody, and I need to believe and see results in order for them to come fully on our team. And then just the support of your family or significant others. And not everybody is for you, so I think one thing that you really have to be careful about is who you let into your boat. Because they're not always there for the right reasons.
For the right reason, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so my family has been incredible. And then my fiance, we started dating, it was after, obviously, like the divorce and that kind of stuff. And divorce is not easy. It's hard. And it caused me to like kind of put myself in a bubble and not trust people. And then so Craig and I actually like built a friendship first before we started dating. And he came into my life in the middle of 2021, and he has never doubted me one bit. When I wanted to go home, he's the one. Like, there was some rodeos that I told him I was going to turn out of, and he was like, no, go. And one of them was Burwell, Nebraska. I was like, I don't want to go. And he's like, you need to go. And he's never let me take a step back. Like, he's constantly pushing me forward. And we ended up winning Burwell. And I was like, that's the kind of point when, like, you're not quite sure you want to take that step and keep going. And you need those people to help push you along.
To push you and to keep you going. Yeah.
And because giving up is easy. And like, I really didn't even have a real good reason not to go. And so he's been amazing. And then, he went to the NFR with me, and stepping into a child's life when you're not like their real parent is very hard, and he has taken that role amazing. Both feet jumped right in and has never looked back. And so he was a big help at the NFR. 10 nights in a row is grueling.
I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it. Like your schedule of the horse. It's a lot.
It is a lot. And that's where that team comes in, you know. And so he, having his support and how great he is with the kids, and the kids love him, has been a huge help. And that team behind you is just, they don't get enough recognition, I think, because it's not just one person doing it. Because if it was just me, like, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it was just me.
No, and I'm feeling too, like, when you see your horse all the time, and sometimes you don't see them. Yes, you can feel them, but you don't see that. Oh, something's wrong. But you need someone, a team to help you.
And, like, you know, and it's great to be able to have a connection with your vet that sometimes you need to text them on a Sunday. I dislike texting my vets on the weekends because they need their break too. And so, but if you can send them videos every once in a while to be like, hey, do you see something? And they'll be like, yes, you need to bring them in for this. You know, it's amazing what a vet, once they get familiar with your horse and their running style, what they can see just based off of video. And so I think it's very important. And I guess I should have said this before too, to keep a horse fit. My horses go to the vet a lot because I feel like if I take them in for a normal visit, then we can catch stuff early on before it's too late. And so it's just, the vets are amazing, and a team. You know, I've relied on you. I know Firefly like the back of my hand, but I feel like if I can, last year I probably would have crippled him for life if I didn't reach out to you, because there's certain things that I know, like something's wrong, but I don't know where. And so, like this last summer, you've talked with Firefly quite a bit. And this summer I was like maybe he is done, because when he got hurt in 22 at Fort Worth, and that's been a mental up and down type deal too. But like last summer, it wasn't his stifle. Like his stifle was doing good, and so I was like, he was running 7/10 off. And that's not like him, but I didn't know where. And so I brought you in to help us, and I mean, you were spot on. And every time you've communicated with him, it's always been spot on. It's amazing. And I try not to like rely too much on you, because I need to know these things too. Like I need to be able to pick out like, hey, my horse isn't quite right. But when we can't figure it out, like that's where you have been such a great big help, is helping us identify things. And I have vets that will work with you, and that's great too.
I know.
It's just great.
Yeah, I really, because those vet that you work with, I'm working with too. So I really enjoy it too, because we are there for the animals. Yes. And like your horse, I remember you said, I think he's done. I was like, okay, let me talk with him. And he was like, no.
Don't let her.
No, I'm not done. Yeah. I just have some pain. And in the same time, he doesn't want to let you see it. He doesn't show it.
He's so tough.
He's so tough. And he didn't, for me, you know, it makes me feel it. And I was just feeling there's a little bit something wrong. So that's when I'm happy that I can help too. But can we come back to the NFR? How that 10 days, 10 run with the same horse, how was it? How was like a daily
for you? A general life in the NFR, You have all your sponsorship signings. And so then you have friends that want to see you, and then you need to make sure you eat and that you're getting enough water and taking care of your horse and keeping your mind focused on the task at hand. My brother Bobby had made it 7 times in the bull riding, and so he was a big help on like beforehand, like you need people to help watch your kids, you need people to help with your horse, you need people to get you to and from, like this and that. And I was like, okay. And I would, I have a hard time letting someone else take care of my horse. And so I fed Firefly every morning and every night out there for almost 2 weeks, because we went out there a few days before it actually started. And so I'd wake up about 6 o'clock to go feed, and then we'd get them out of their stall. And then after that, I'd go back, get ready for my autograph signings. Well, for each signing, you're there for about an hour. And I tried to limit to where I was only doing 2 or 3 a day, but they were spread out the whole 10 days. And so I didn't have a lot of time to spend with my kids during the day, and then I would see them for a little bit during the rodeo or before. Late nights, by the time you get back from the rodeo, it's late, and then you're doing all the things to keep your horse feeling the best he can.
So what were you doing?
I would put, like after our run, I would put liniment on his legs, walk him out, hose his legs off, kind of went back between poultice and watering his legs. And then my vet that I used, Dr. Carden, she was heaven sent out there, and she would take him and go over him morning and night, and she would help dispense the medications. Like Firefly is bled, so I do run him on Lasix. And she would take him before, because you have the grand entry, and so she would take care of everything that Firefly required for me. And so that took a load off of my workload.
Yeah.
A lot. And so then, like during the day, I know Firefly's needs, like, and I knew those 10 runs were going to be hard. And I won't lie to you, by the 6th or 7th round, he was tired. He was very tired. And so during the day, I just wanted him to walk, like get out of his stall and walk, because I just kept horses there. He's kind of a horse that just does better when you get somewhere instead of hauling him back and forth all the time. Just let him settle. So I chose to keep horses there at Thomas and Mac. And Craig and my dad and then my brother Bobby, they would go out and get my horses out of the stall and get their legs moving and that kind of stuff. I know, like when I talk about it, it doesn't sound that busy, but
No.
it's extremely busy. And you know, your late nights and your early mornings, there was sometimes we wouldn't get back to the room till 1, and I was back up at 6 to go feed. And I was tired. By that 10th round, I was very tired.
For sure. Yeah. But it's worth it.
It is.
It's
when we got to do that first practice and they line you up, you go in the alley, it was like, my brother always told me, it's a marathon. And once you make it, your marathon isn't over, because the last leg of your marathon are those 10 nights. And so it was just like, we made it, but we still have a job to do. It's not over yet. And so, when you go and line up for practice, you're like, oh my goodness, we did it. We really did it. And then you go in the tunnel for that first performance, and you hear that crowd. Like when you go in for the grand entry is wild. Like it's set apart, And so you see all those people, and it's electric. Like I don't even know if I have the right word to describe it. But what an emotion. And like it just made my heart smile. Like every night we got to go in there, and I knew exactly where my family was sitting. I got to wave to them every night at the grand entry. And but the intensity of that place is next to none. Like there's not a rodeo that matches up to that. And so, my brother told me, he said, my first NFR, he said, my nerves were so high. And Bobby was very young when he made his first NFR. And I've always been one to be able to control those nerves. And I grew up going to a lot of Judy Millimackie clinics. And one of the things that she teaches you is like, when you start getting nervous, relax and wiggle your toes. I don't know what about wiggling my toes works, but it does.
It does.
And so as we're moving up, they line all 15 of you in this alley. And, of course, I prayed for that peace, because I knew from what Bobby told me, it was just electrifying. And I didn't want my nerves and emotions taking over what I needed to do. And I wanted to go in and I wanted to make 10 clean runs. And I just wanted to be consistent. I had no goal or anything to go in and win the first round of my first NFR. Mm-hmm. But what an amazing thing it was! Like,
I know. We were at home watching you, and it was a lot. We were all having those emotions, a little bit less than you, but yeah.
And so I think just to get that first run and to set up that for the rest of my NFR, it just took a lot of pressure off. Like, we made our first run and it was out of the way, and I knew what I needed to do, and like, he was confident in that pin, and we just, you can't change the plan that is for you. What's meant to be is meant to be. And I just wanted to have fun and enjoy it, because when you rodeo, you also know how quickly things can change. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to take any of that for granted. And I know that I might not ever have another horse like Firefly, so I always try to just cherish every run that I get to make on him. Mm-hmm. So it was grueling, and I do want to go back. Last year I wasn't sure if it was something that I wanted to do. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. The biggest thing my biggest sacrifice that year was the time. So, we have a split visitation when we lived up there, and so they got to go with me on my time. But then when they started school, I didn't see my kids for almost 6 weeks. And that part is what makes you wonder if that stuff is really worth it. But then on the other hand, later in life, do you want to live with the fact that you sacrificed, or do you want to live with regret?
But in the same time, for your kids, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You are a model for them, mm-hmm. because if they have, that's my point of view, but you better think about, not just thinking about yourself, but do something for you and your family, your kid will see, and that's mm-hmm. the best thing you can show them.
Yeah.
Like, if you want something, if you believe in something, go get it.
Yes, and do it
and it's in respect. I'm pretty sure mm-hmm. you were calling them every day.
Yeah.
and it's a sacrifice, but it's 6 weeks. Right. I know it's hard. I'm not taking nothing out, but it's like, maybe, like, even we can say maybe it's 1 year mm-hmm. in your life, but to achieve your goal, mm-hmm. wow.
And like I said, the Raylyn and Ronnie love rodeo, and there are times where we listen to Viva Las Vegas on the way to school, and they do it a lot, and they want to go back to Vegas too. And so I think, like last year, like, Mom, we want to go to Vegas. And they're like, you need to make it again so we can go back. And I think, like, the memories that they also get to make, they've got to see a lot of places that a lot of kids don't, because mm-hmm. of the lifestyle that I've been blessed with. Raylyn, she always tells me, I want to do what you do. And I was like, please go to school and have a backup plan, because I'm almost 36 years old. And I did go to college. I went for 3 years, college rodeo. but I don't have anything to fall back on. And that is like one thing that I wish, which I mean, I can always go back to school to figure out. But even to this day, I don't know what I would want to do.
It's part of you. It's like that.
Yeah. You know, horses have been in my life since I was born. And I'm not a big trainer. Like, I'm not a Brandon Collins. I'm not an Ashley Schaefer. But I love bringing one along. It just makes me a better rider, and it makes me think outside of the box. I have a horse in now that's blind in his left eye. I've never ridden a horse that's blind in one eye. So the trust that I've had to build with him and get him, because he is a little unsure on that left side, like especially coming around the second barrel. I did take him to my first jackpot with him. Summers hauled him a little bit. And he almost, it was just I don't even know the right word, but he almost finished, like he worked too good on the backside, and we drug the barrel around, but he was wanting to go like way by it and stall up and out coming. And so he's helped me change the thing, like how I do things with most of the horses, to help him, to get him to that next step, that he's confident on that backside. And my program is very simple. I am a slow trainer. I like to take my time with them and get them confident first. And
I know that for you too, the connection with your horse. You know, yes, confident, but I'm really feeling like when I see you with your horse, you have that connection, because if you don't have it, I think it doesn't work. That horse doesn't fit in your program. Yes.
And there's some horses that I have sent back because they're not quite, I wasn't going to get them to the place they needed to be for their owners. And so I have sent a few horses back. I don't like to give up on one, but you can't force a connection. And it's just like you being around other people. Sometimes you just don't have that connection, and you have that with horses too. Like you're just not going to have a connection with all of them. And so that way, like, then you need to be honest with the owners, and you need to be honest with yourself and be like, you know what, this one just isn't going to fit, so you need to send them to somebody else. And I've seen those horses go on with the other person they had sent, and they were great, but I just wasn't going to be the one to get them there.
So can you talk a little bit, because we didn't talk about the injury that Firefly that he had. What really, I know what happened, but what really happened, and what did you do, and how is he now? You know, so I know you said that you start running him and you thought that it was that, so now he's good, but what really happened?
So at Fort Worth, in our bracket, he was the only one that had any issue. So what caused him to slip like he did? So we were coming around the third barrel, and his hind legs came straight out back, and then his upper body was up, and then the back half of him came down on that right stifle, and it ended up cracking his stifle, the cartilage of his stifle, in like 3 or 4 different spots. And he never really took a lame step. I came back the next day, and I ran him the second day. He showed like no swelling, no nothing, like didn't refuse the gait, but he was just slower the second run at Fort Worth. And I was like, So I sent a video back to Dr. Cardin, and she was like, just give him a week or 2 off. And I had the Rapid City, the Black Hill Stock Show rodeo, and that run, going to the first barrel, is when I finally felt something was wrong. And so I took him over. I actually texted Dr. Cardin on my way back to the trailer, and I said, something's not right. And I said, I can feel it. And so I took him over there, and she's like, you know, she had that gut feeling, and she knew, like, she'd been working on Firefly for several years now. And when your vet has a gut feeling, I said, because she's like, I don't feel comfortable just injecting him and going down the road. So she sent me to Dr. Hayes. She did her internship with him, and I had to come down for some winter rodeos. Anyways, I was just trying to stay positive that it was nothing major. And so we did a scope. Dr. Hayes went in there, kind of cleaned it up, and found the cartilage injury. And that's the first injury that Firefly has ever had, like major injury that he has had. And it did take the wind out of my sails, because he was 12 that year. And I thought, man, and he was on top of his game. I mean, he just coming off the NFR that he had, and he just kept that momentum rolling. And it's hard when you only have one horse for so long. And one of my things is rodeoing without him is so hard. And so I was just going to be done. And because Dr. Hayes was like, you're looking at, he said, pretty much the rest of this year, he's going to be out. And one thing that he did say was a lot of people that have an issue like that, they don't know, because you can't see it on an ultrasound. And they continue to run these horses and run these horses. Well, then the cartilage goes away, and then it's bone on bone. And then he said, you have nothing. He said, you can't even hardly keep them, comfortable out in the pasture. And he said, so I commend you for getting him in right away. And he said, when I picked him up, because he stayed there for, I think, almost 7 to 10 days after the scope and stuff, just to make sure no infection or anything.
Nothing, yeah.
And Jane, she was she's amazing. She's the vet tech there, and every day I got pictures of Firefly. They let me keep his pony there with him because, like I said, he's not a stall person. So the first couple of days they had to give him something to help settle him because he was not happy in there. But every day I got pictures of him and videos, and she gave him lots of treats and loved on him every day. And so I followed Dr. Hayes' instructions like to the T, and he said, this horse will never be 100%. And he said, maybe 80%. And I was like, okay. So we did IRAP 1 month, Renovo the next month, and then IRAP again. He was in a stall for 3 months, and then gradually a bigger, and then to bring him back, I took him to Molly actually before I started legging him back up, and she said for however long they're off for, it's going to take you half that time to get them in shape. And I took that to heart. I wanted to set him up to be able to make a comeback and do everything that I could in my, and one thing that we did do, Dawn, we don't put a lot of steroid in that stifle anymore just because of it is hard on the cartilage. Yeah. And he does have a little spot on the inside where the cartilage is gone. So we've been trying to do everything we can to take care of that cartilage so nothing else goes away.
Yeah.
And so it took me 3 or 4 months to get him in shape before I made my first run back on him. And he's the type of horse that, like, if he has time off, he's never going to be that horse that goes out and wins the jackpot his first run back. Like, it's just never been him. But he placed in the 2D, and I was like,
wow,
jumping to the moon, and I was like, just to make that first run back. And that just showed me, and then, like, the stuff that he has done since then. He won Austin last year, won another rodeo right before Reno, and like you had said, it has not been a walk in the park on me mentally after his injury. I've prayed and I've doubted and I've prayed and I've doubted that he's actually okay. And then last summer after Reno, it just went downhill, and I thought he was done. I really did. And I've asked you that too, like, is he done? And you're like, no. And there was one time he said, tell her to stop worrying about my stuff.
No, I remember. It was, usually it's like, but that day was like, okay, she need to stop. She need to stop. We can fix what's wrong, but she need to stop asking me.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think when you look at something for so long, you can convince yourself that it's terrible, and that. So last year, it was a big eye opener that the way I was perceiving things was not the correct way to look at things. I was focusing on the bad instead of the others. And so now, like, since we've found out what was truly hurting him and fixing it, and like when you're fixing feet, it just takes so long to fix the issues. And but now that we're on the right track, looking back, I'm like, how silly of you to, like, why would you focus on that when there's so much good around you? When he placed second in the first round at Reno behind Hello Stella, I was like, oh, like, he's back. I was like so excited. And there's a lot of money to be won in the summers and in the the later month and a half of the season. And I thought, this trip to the NFR this year isn't out of reach. But then we hit a big roadblock, and that cost us a lot. But you learn and you move on, you make adjustments, and you keep going.
You keep going. Yeah. And last week, so last week we were in Fort Worth, and it was, you were freaking out a little bit. It was funny because I went there with Alex, and we work on your horse before to make sure that you need to make sure that he's in top shape.
Yes. And I was a little bit worried. We were in Denver Monday, Tuesday. Yeah. And I did have to drive straight through from Denver to get back here. The kids had school, and so to have you and Alex there, it's amazing watching you two work together. You can just sit back and watch you and watch Alex, like, do your thing, and watch the horses' reaction. The horses don't lie, and I was just watching him, and so to have you two there, like, if I could take you two together, like, the whole
on the road,
year,
that would be fun.
Like,
we need to make a plan.
Everybody be like, what's your secret? That's a secret I'm not sharing, but it was just so amazing to watch you two. And I was so thankful that when I texted Alex, I was like, oh, we have to be checked in. Like, I don't think I have enough time to stop on my
here.
way.
Yeah, you were.
And so for you guys to come over before, I was just so thankful. I knew he needed a little bit of work. I mean, he had 2 runs at Denver and then 13 hours in the trailer. I wasn't sure how, like, that's a lot, and I didn't know if he was going to be a little tired. Like, I wasn't sure. And the girls that were there with me, they're tough. All their horses are very nice. Yeah. And I think, like, another part is, this is how I make my living. This is how I take care of my kids, make all my payments, is rodeo. And, when you don't win, it makes it tough. And so I was like, here's a chance. Like, God knows our needs. Like, we need to ask, like, we need to, like, hey, I need you to help me meet these needs. And God knew what we needed. And that when he went in there and made his first run, that was my Firefly. That felt like him.
Yeah.
And in the warm-up pen, I couldn't I loped him 2 circles each way, and other than that, he was so full of fire that I couldn't even hardly warm him up.
That night, he was ready.
Yeah.
And we were there even to watch you, and at your second run, oh my God, we were
I know.
we were so happy for both of you.
Yeah.
And yes, for you, but sorry, but my part, it was for the horse too.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I was so happy for
Mhm.
him because he really deserves it and he's giving everything. I'm not saying the other horses doesn't
Right.
deserve it. I'm not saying that, but to be with him, you know,
Mhm.
before and all that time, it was a lot of emotion.
Oh, yeah. And you connect with them on a totally different level than what I do. And Firefly is a horse that he doesn't allow a lot of people close to him.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people like, oh, can we pet Firefly? And he will turn his head, and I'm like, I'm sorry,
And
but
now,
that's his personality. But to see him with you and Alex, like he loves you too, and don't get me wrong, he gave Alex a run for her money the first couple times that she worked on him.
yeah.
But once he sees her, he just like, oh, and like he knows you two are gonna help him, and like we used to like his pole. I don't know what it is about his pole, but that area, I didn't think she was ever gonna get through to him to
Be able
to
to.
help him there, and he does, and he just adores Alex.
I know. It's pretty good. So, your plan for this year or what's coming for 2024?
You know, Craig's family has been very supportive. The Fetzer Livestock, I wear their
Mhm.
shirt today. Financially, rodeo is very expensive, and they are more than willing to help where they are. And so as long as it keeps going good, I do want to get Firefly back to the NFR one more time. He's 14 this year, and to make it one more time on him would just be amazing. And so they've said numerous times, like, whatever you need, we'll help you with. Wherever you need help, don't be afraid to ask. And so I've entered a few more rodeos. I think I'm gonna be very picky on which ones he does go to, but with how he's feeling right now, we'll just keep going and
Keep going.
yeah, and see where it ends up.
Hey, I really wish you the best.
Thank you.
And you know, you can call me anytime if you need. I will be more than happy to help you too.
And I sure appreciate that, because you've been such a staple for me too, and have helped out so much. And not only for Firefly, but just getting a hug from you the other night at Fort Worth, like it was just what I needed. And to have your friendship too is
I really appreciate
awesome.
it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your time with me. Please make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe on all my social media, and don't forget to leave me a review. If you want to learn more about me, visit my website, horseconfidence.com with a K, where you can also order my book.